In 1998, Kristine Kupka was a 28-year-old woman living in New York City. She was originally from Madison, Wisconsin, but had decided to make the move 3 years prior to try and find her place in the world. During her time in New York, Kristine had supported herself by working at a Jamaican restaurant as a waitress, where was loved by her customers and co-workers. So she lived with 5 roommates in order to be frugal and save money while she was attending Baruch College, where she majored in philosophy. Kristine had intended to then go on to law school to become a civil rights attorney specializing in women's issues. Kristine, who was due to graduate college the upcoming January, was described by her family as highly intelligent with a 3.97 GPA and strong-willed, even going as far as to start her own philosophy club, when she found out her college didn't have one. In her spare time, she loved to help out blind students by typing up their papers. She was determined to make a difference in the world. While attending Baruch College, she ended up taking a chemistry class, which was taught by adjunct lecturer Darshan and Rudy Persaud. Once she finished the class, the pair had entered into a troubled relationship. Soon enough, despite only sleeping together once, Kristine became pregnant with Rudy's child. After informing him of the pregnancy, Rudy was unsupportive, telling her he would be disowned by his family and begging her to have an abortion. His father was a strict Hindu priest, and he and his family were Guyanese immigrants. In his culture, it is unacceptable to have a baby out of wedlock. He cared a lot of what his family, colleagues, and general social circle would think of this scandal. Despite what Rudy had thought about the situation, Kristine had always wanted to be a mother someday and considered the pregnancy a welcome surprise. With the support of her loved ones and with $7,000 in her savings account, Kristine had no intentions to get rid of her baby, and she even confided this with her friends and roommates. This made her confident she could be a single mother and not need financial support from Rudy. Making her decision clear to Rudy in that she was keeping her baby, Kristine told Rudy that he was going to be listed as the father on the birth certificate, but he refused to allow this. She then asked him if he'd be okay with signing away his rights, but he could still have supervised visits if he wanted. He refused to sign any papers. There seemed to be no winning and no compromising. Rudy continued to beg Kristine to have an abortion. It became so intense that family and friends stated that she became scared of Rudy and very worried he'd harm her or her baby by hitting her in the stomach or something of this nature. She even once commented to her roommate, "If anything happens to me, Rudy did it." Unbeknownst to Kristine was that Rudy had been keeping a secret. He was in fact a married man. It was only after Kristine told him she was pregnant that he admitted he was married, their baby had been conceived whilst he was engaged, and he had told Kristine he was on a business trip when he was actually on his honeymoon. Desperate, Rudy even went on to claim that the baby wasn't even his. He claimed repeatedly he had a partial vasectomy, something which was a lie. Eventually, Rudy decided to cut contact and stop all communication with Kristine. With days passing and no calls or visits from Rudy, Kristine began to imagine her baby growing up without a father and the emotional problems this would cause. This weighed heavily on her mind, and she began to call his beeper daily, hoping for a response. Rudy's new wife, Rochelle, soon noticed the calls and called Kristine back. When asked why she was calling Rudy, Kristine said, "You'll have to ask him." Rochelle then asked if Kristine was pregnant, so Kristine said yes, and explained the roller coaster of a situation. Rochelle was furious at Rudy and told Kristine, "I don't want him, you can have him." Kristine replied, "I don't want him either." Kristine felt a lot of empathy for Rochelle and let her know she wasn't trying to hurt her. She apologized for disrupting the family and said she just wanted Rudy to be a part of their baby's life, because she wanted their child to have emotional well-being and a relationship with both parents. Soon after this phone call, however, Rudy showed up on Kristine's doorstep looking defeated. Rochelle had kicked him out of the family home and wanted nothing more to do with him. Kristine immediately encouraged him to make up with his wife and did her best to support him, the way a friend would. The communication issues between the two of them seemed to improve at this point, and Rudy was even suggesting some baby names and offering to be her birthing coach. This was confusing for Kristine, since all of this was a complete turnaround from his prior behavior. On October 24th, 1998, at around 12:30 p.m., Rudy picked Kristine up from her home in Brooklyn. Earlier on, Kristine had left a voicemail for her sister, saying she was off to see Rudy's new apartment and would be back home shortly. Kristine would never be seen or heard from again. Kristine's sister Kathy got word later that night from her roommates that they were concerned because she hadn't returned home. Upon trying to report Kristine missing, her loved ones were made to wait a few days before they could fill out a report. Kristine's sister's husband, Kevin, and Kristine's ex-boyfriend, Nick, figured out where Rudy lived and paid a visit to his home. Once there, they confronted both his uncle and his mother about where Kristine was. The uncle said Rudy had left Saturday and didn't return until Sunday evening. Rudy's mother called Rudy and informed him of the demanding men at their house. Upon hearing this, Rudy went to the precinct and asked for a police escort home. They did escort him into his home, while Nick and Kevin angrily looked on as they were held outside their car at gunpoint by the NYPD. Rudy claimed that Kristine had lied to her sister on the voicemail and the pair had not gone to his home that day, but instead had gone to a shopping mall. He claimed that he waited in his car whilst she shopped before dropping her off 2 blocks from her home between 3 or 4 p.m. because she wanted to walk to a health food store. When asked to expand on his story, he claimed he didn't know which shopping center he took her to or what health food store it was. The family located a health food store within the area of Kristine's home and asked the owner if he had seen her. He said he might have seen her that night around 7 p.m., but he changed his mind and said it couldn't have been Kristine, as the woman he saw was wearing peach-colored pants and Kristine didn't own any pants matching this description. Authorities only got to question Rudy one time, shortly after the disappearance. He lawyered up almost immediately and decided not to cooperate further. Kristine's family hired a private investigator who has stated publicly that he thinks Rudy is responsible for her disappearance. Rudy has never been charged and has maintained his innocence through his lawyer. He didn't have an alibi during the time she vanished, and authorities said that during the one interview, they felt he knew more than he was saying. The authorities have no physical evidence a crime occurred, and they don't have anything to link Rudy to it besides motive. The case has never made it to court, and as of February 2024, Rudy remains a free man. Rudy left Baruch College shortly after Kristine's disappearance because his students and colleagues all suspected him of Kristine's demise. He still was hired in similar positions thereafter, with many employers not knowing of the unspeakable tragedy he was suspected of orchestrating. Detectives state that it is believed Kristine met foul play and was the victim of a homicide. Her bank accounts were not touched after October 24th, and she attended none of her scheduled midwifery appointments after this date. Her social security number has not been used, and she has had no contact with family or friends. In recent years, a shop formerly owned by one of Rudy's close relatives was a focus of police in 2010. They dug up the basement floor after a cadavered dog indicated human remains, but nothing was found. At the time of her disappearance, Kristine was a white 28-year-old woman who was 5 months pregnant when she vanished on October 24th, 1998. She was due to give birth in February or March of 1999. Kristine was 5'8" and had red hair and blue eyes. If alive today, she would be 50 years old